Hey, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday morning, June the 19th. We have a severe weather threat later today in the Mid-Atlantic region, including the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York City. All the ingredients are there for the possibility of this severe weather later today into tonight. Probable time frame somewhere around 2 to 8 p.m., kind of the typical summer afternoon type of timetable here. Again, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. roughly for that D.C. to New York City corridor. The ingredients include a lot of heat and humidity, really some of the highest heat and humidity we've seen in many, many days in the Mid-Atlantic region. We have a strong surface cold front that will be sliding slowly to the south and east from the north and west. The atmosphere will destable quite quickly this afternoon, and again, expect to see an increasing amount of shower and thunderstorms during the late morning, midday hours, and then that severe weather threat comes to the I-95 corridor region later in the afternoon into the early evening hours. Beyond that, we've been talking extensively about an extended period of high heat and humidity for the northeastern part of the nation. That is certainly still on the table. It looks like roughly from Sunday into at least the middle part of next week, there certainly is a possibility that this extended stretch of high heat and humidity lasts into the latter part of next week. More on that over the next few days. Let's start off here with the severe weather threat. This is the latest outlook from NOAA's Storm Prediction Center. They're based out in Norman, Oklahoma, and they have increased the threat to enhanced in the I-95 corridor region. I am totally in agreement with that. Yesterday, it was a slight risk. Today, it is an enhanced risk, and here it is in that D.C. to New York City corridor. Again, this is for the possibility of severe thunderstorm activity later today into early tonight. Well, let's talk about some of the ingredients. Here we're looking at the upper level vorticity field. These are areas in the upper part of the atmosphere where there's kind of a rotation in the upper part of the atmosphere associated with jet streaks or embedded areas of higher winds compared to the surrounding area in the overall jet stream. That in turn leads to upward motion down at the lower levels of the atmosphere, which in turn helps to produce the clouds and showers and thunderstorms. Here we have quite an impressive, what we call a short wave here, an upper level area of rotation right centered over the Great Lakes region this morning, right in this area. And this is what slides south and east during the next 6 to 12 hours or so. In fact, let's move forward in time here. Here it is Thursday morning, midday on Thursday, and finally by the time we get to Thursday evening, that shortwave right there across the western part of the Mid-Atlantic region, the eastern Great Lakes. And again, that will help to produce strong upward motion in that really Richmond, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City corridor later today into early tonight, and hence the threat for severe thunderstorms right in this zone where there will be a strong upward motion later this afternoon into the early evening hours. Well, now let's clear the page and move forward in time here, and we'll talk a little bit about the upper level ridge that will be moving to the east. This system, the cold front, slides east to off the east coast by early Friday. When I say cold front, it's not going to change the temperatures all that much. We do drop a little bit, probably highs today, 90 to 93 degrees in that DC to New York City corridor, but probably more like 85, 86, 87 degrees on Friday. The big difference will be lower humidity, noticeably lower humidity on Friday. A brief break, however, we get into that excessive heat and humidity pattern later this week and into the at least the middle part of next week. Let's move forward here, and we are moving ahead into the upcoming weekend, and notice this ridge starting to pop right here by the time we get to later in the day on Saturday. This is associated with that high heat and humidity that first will rear its ugly head over the central part of the nation, the western Great Lakes. Chicago, for example, should reach the middle 90s on Saturday afternoon. That then translates into the mid-Atlantic region on Sunday. Look for middle 90s in D.C. as an example. Here we are on Sunday and finally into Monday, and we'll see the 500 millibar height anomaly pattern in a moment. But here is where that strong upper level ridge builds over the eastern states, leading to this extended stretch of high heat and humidity. For the most part, over the last few weeks, this upper level ridge has been parked over the western U.S., where it's been above normal temperature-wise, hot and relatively rain-free in the western U.S. over the past several days here. But that ridge now shifting to the east. Well, indeed, let's take a look here at the 500 millibar height anomaly pattern. All these maps, by the way, from the 0Z run of the GFS. This is some blue showing up here. That's an upper level, a trough of low pressure, and we just saw that vorticity area right here over the Great Lakes. This is going to produce that upward motion and in turn produce that severe weather threat later today into early tonight for the Mid-Atlantic region. It slides to the east over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, and here we are by midday on Friday. This upper level feature is situated over northern New England, southeastern Canada. Here we go with the orange here. That's above normal heights, higher pressures than normal. We're looking at the 500 millibar level. This is the middle part of the atmosphere. This ridge just intensifies significantly, and that's the main culprit. Here we go into the day on Sunday and finally into Monday. And again, this is where that upper level ridge will be parked right over the Mid-Atlantic region. It sits there for a few days. That's why I expect to see this extended stretch of high heat and humidity last from at least Sunday into Wednesday of next week, potentially even into Thursday and Friday of next week. We'll go forward in time here. Here we go into Tuesday, into middle part of next week. Still the ridge kind of centered over the Tennessee Valley or the southern Mid-Atlantic region. And here we go into the day on Thursday. Still some signs of that ridge maybe dropping a little bit to the south here as we progress through next week. But all the way into the end of next week, we still have some signs of that upper level ridge. And so then indeed this extended stretch can last all the way into the end of next week in terms of the high heat and humidity for the northeastern part of the nation. Well, let's wrap up by taking a look at the surface forecast maps. We have low pressure, surface low pressure here over the eastern Great Lakes beginning the day here on Thursday the 19th. And we go into the afternoon hours. Here's the midday forecast map, and then the late afternoon, early evening hours. And we have this cold frontal system trailing that low pressure area that at this time now over southeastern part of Canada, and again could have severe thunderstorm activity breaking out along that I-95 corridor region, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City. Again, the timetable probably for the I-95 corridor region 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Those storms obviously will end up in the later part of that timetable near the East Coast here, but this is the area of concern. The main risk appears to be damaging wind gusts, perhaps 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts with some of these storms. Of course, there will be some heavy downpours as well, potentially vivid lightning, even large hail, isolated tornadoes on the table for later today into early tonight. Now, let's move forward in time here into the day on Friday. Now, again, not a lot cooler behind this cold frontal passage here on Friday, but the big difference will be less humid. It'll be noticeably less humid on Friday. Not a bad day to end the work week. Probably highs closer to the middle 80s in that DC, Philadelphia, New York City corridor on Friday as compared with 90, 92 degrees or so this afternoon. Now, one other feature I want to point out here, over the upcoming weekend, it's not all that unusual that in a northwesterly flow with the ridge parked somewhere in this area by the time we get to Saturday night, early Sunday, it's not all that unusual to see kind of a what we call a mesoscale complex of thunderstorms develop in that northwest flow of air around that ridge. And here we have that northwest flow of air around that high pressure ridge where winds blow clockwise. You can see kind of a complex of thunderstorms impact, let's say, New York State, New England, Saturday night into early Sunday. This is something we'll have to watch for. GFS has kind of had this consistently. The other models have not. I do believe it is a possibility. It certainly can develop, even in northwest flow, with a developing ridge, in this case over the Tennessee Valley here by the time we get to Saturday night, early Sunday we're talking about here. Now let's move forward in time. That slides south and east, and again, it could impact New England, New York State into Sunday morning. Then that moves off the coast, and here's when the high heat and humidity really will be felt here with surface high pressure over the Tennessee Valley, that upper level high pressure a little bit farther to the north over the mid-Atlantic region. But this is the Monday forecast map, and just some excessive high heat and humidity. There certainly can be a run to 100 degrees in some urban areas, especially along that I-95 corridor region. Not a guarantee. It's been a while since some of these cities have reached 100 degrees, but certainly Monday, especially Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, D.C., Philadelphia, Newark, New York City have a shot at 100 degrees. By no means is it a guarantee, but you certainly can see a run to 100 degrees during this stretch of weather here. Then we go into Tuesday, and this is Tuesday, and then finally into the middle part of next week. And by the way, by this time, by the middle and latter parts of next week, you can start to see the development of some scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms, even underneath that strong upper level ridge. After it's parked over an area for a few days, it tends to become a little bit more unstable with each afternoon. So by the time we get to the middle of next week, cannot rule out the possibility of some thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic region to go along with those high heat and humidity conditions here. But this is all the way into the middle part of next week, and then we'll finally wrap up with Thursday forecast map. This is a week from right now, and at this time we start to see a little bit of a high pressure area over southeastern Canada. That certainly can start to bring a cool down, especially to New England, a week from right now here. But before we get to that, we have a lot of weather to get through. First of all, severe weather threat later this afternoon into early tonight in the Mid-Atlantic region. That D.C. to New York City corridor timetable, probably 2 p.m. to as late as 8 p.m. Any severe thunderstorm that develops today can have damaging wind gusts potentially in the range of 60 to 70 miles per hour, heavy downpours, vivid lightning on the table, even large hail and isolated tornadoes. Becomes a little bit less humid on Friday, but that is a short-lived break in the humidity. It returns in full force by the time we get to the latter part of the upcoming weekend. High heat and humidity for much of the northeastern part of the nation. That includes the Great Lakes, the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S., Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. High heat and humidity, potentially even into Thursday or so of next week. We'll have to take that one day at a time as we go through the next few days, exactly when this heat wave will end. So a lot of weather to go through over the next week or so. That's it for now. For ArcFieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.